All right. So like somebody somehow gets your contact. Is this how this happens? They just cold email you? How does it work? Or are you reaching out to them? Is it somebody who's being referred to you, or is it strictly by brokers coming to you?
It was a kind of a mixed bag. Yeah. So brokers, right, wrong, or indifferent, would get my contact info because everybody's sharing in the community. Hey, this is the buyer for this. I've gone to your kid's soccer game, met you once. I want a piece of the pie. Cold emails. Some people would find me on LinkedIn, and they would send me emails, and then I would ask, hey, let's put this with a paper trail, and we'll go email on Walmart's terms.
Yeah.
Rarely I got a phone call because that was pretty private information. And then
creepy.
Kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. LinkedIn was a little bit edgy.
It's not as creepy.
Not as creepy.
I would expect that, but someone to call me out of the blue that I don't know.
That does suck, but you got to kind of respect the hustle to a degree.
Yeah. I think I had that once or twice my first year.
You ever have shaker bottle manufacturers from China reach out to you?
Only after I left Walmart, which is super weird. I'm like, where were y'all? Super weird. No, but it's pretty much that. Sometimes we would do, what's it called? It's a Walmart program. It's for new vendors. They would come in, they would sign up.
Yeah, they have the open day or whatever it's called.
Open call.
Open call. Yeah, I did that one year.
So
casting call kind of thing.
Yeah, I went to open call one year.
Yeah. Hey, different concept, but yeah, it's a retail side.
Yeah, they put you in a little room and you get like 10 minutes.
It's like Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like in a little tiny, very, very intimidating room with two very quiet people wearing blue shirts.
That's a very interesting thing how a tiny room could be so intimidating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny you say that because a lot of the people are people.
Yeah.
A lot of people.
Arkansas people,
All the people are people.
Yeah.
Right? They're dealing with the same stuff you're dealing with. They might have a family member that died that week and they've got a Walmart meeting. Like they're going to take the Walmart meeting over going to a visitation sometimes or a funeral sometimes. Like they value it that much. And so going into those pitch meetings, like you try to be as, I don't want to say robotic, but humane, right? You're still a person. You've got to empathize. They're pitching you a brand. Like give them time. Like
And they break out in tears as they're pitching.
I've never had that happen.
Oh my God. I'm sure it's happened though.
I'm sure it has.
Well, I'm thinking that you're probably going into this as like it's another day of work, but the person across the table is going into it like this is going to change my life.
It's going to change your life. It's going to, make your week better. I mean,
they've been planning this for months. They've been rehearsing what they're going to say.
Or maybe you have to go home to a crappy home situation.
Yeah.
And this is the best thing that could happen that day. Like you never know what people are dealing with.
Yeah. Okay. So you get a mixed bag of like inquiries. All right. What catches your eye? Is it something that you already had on your radar because you were aware of that brand just because of either social media or for word of mouth or for whatever reason?
Yeah.
That's what catches your eye, or is there any stuff that just comes in where that's kind of interesting?
Yeah. Typically what I would do, because I'm a feeler and I like to try stuff and I want it, like I said, if I don't want to put it in my body or ingest it, I'm not going to look at it seriously. Like there was definitely stuff that I, put on the shelf that I wouldn't take, but customers take.
Can you give us an example? I'd love to know.
Nugenics.
Okay. They have commercials on TV. I get it.
They do a ton of money.
Yeah.
And does it work? I don't know. Somebody test it.
Some are good. Some kind of suck.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of intuition.
But I'd love to bash on
It's a little
them,
bit of
but
you
sometimes
doing your
they're good.
own sort of
Sometimes they're
market.
good.
You're doing your own market study because you're just generally interested in the industry. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I noticed about you when I saw you kind of following people in different places. I noticed that you were following a lot of the same brands that I was doing business with. And I was like, well, this is interesting that this guy's paying attention to this.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that makes you a good merchant. If you're buying car batteries, it's really hard to be immersed in that business, but you still should take an interest in how many cold cranking amps is the most common vehicle using in the United States? Like what are people searching for? And then trying to learn as much as you can about that business to make you a better merchant. One, it's going to expose you to a ton of stuff. Two, you're going to build relationships because like you said, people are going to say, hey, he's paying attention to me, sit up straight, shape up. But then I also could connect if I followed a brand and followed a account manager from that brand. Like you post a picture of your kid, I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like you're being a dad, like whatever it is, and just being a human. So some of it was intuition. Some of it was word of mouth. Like I know Ryan Bucky at Fit Butters runs Fitness Informant. He had connections to a ton of brands that wanted to get into Walmart too.
Sure.
And so he made a good relationship with a local broker that he would it was a carousel. Yeah. I'm giving you brands. Maybe they fit, maybe they don't. And so there were a couple that stuck.
Just throwing balls up to see if you want to whack them or not.
Sure. And he would feel them out and have the calls and then bring them to me. You bring them to me and I'm like, yes, thank you for bringing me this brand.
So if it's coming way of broker, does that mean it's somewhat vetted and then you're a little bit more, you're more warmed up to the idea of having the conversations just because you know it's in the hands of somebody who's going to help the process?
Not all the time. Some of the brokers, I mean, that's their job, right? Is to, hey, I've got this client. Maybe they have signed me. Maybe they haven't paid me for anything, but my job is to sell for you.
Yeah.
And talk the lingo, walk the walk, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So take it with a grain of salt, but ask for samples, get it in your hand, try it, and then do your own research. Look at their socials. Like, look how many views they're getting on TikTok, Instagram, what their social presence looks like, what people are saying about them, you know?
So are you looking for, when you're going and doing this research on social media, for example, are you looking for pure metrics? Are you looking for diversity? Is there certain things that you're looking for? Are you looking for a certain image or, like some brands may like sell things that have more of a softer approach. Some may have like a harder. Does it matter?
I would say it's a balance.
Yeah.
It's for me, it was more of a gut balance, but it had to be rooted in the customer first because that's what Walmart was built on. So is the customer shopping and viewing and liking these posts also shopping at Walmart, and would they buy the product, right? Or could they generate enough hype to get interest to capture that first purchase to then generate repeat purchases?
Yeah. Is a part of the pitch process like people trying to pitch to you how much more foot traffic they're going to push into the door for new customers? Or is it more of something like, hey, we know that we're a good fit for your existing customers?
Some of it, actually, my first year, it was more of me convincing them why we needed them and why they needed us.
Yeah.
So the example of Rise, like when we launched them first year, I think Nick might have been on the fence about, well, do I want to go to Walmart? Do I not? And for me, leading into a retail for some of their pre-workouts, that was $45, $49. It was too high a price point for that time, right? And so it didn't make sense. And so we were able to like iterate, co-create, get some excitement on brand recognition and brand awareness, brand equity, bring it to stores with maybe a product that the existing users of like a Bucked Up or like a C4 could see and be like, well, I want to try that Kool-Aid. I haven't seen Kool-Aid at Walmart before. Let me try it, right? So it could have been a number of brand that with a license that could get it in there. I mean, it was just new and Walmart had never done licenses.
So so it was like licensing, like, is that, a shiny object?
I would say it was and still is. I don't know how long that train's going to last.
But it's a way to pique your interest at first.
Oh, absolutely.
Without the license collabs, has there been any brand that came to you and they're like, we are going to drive so much traffic into your stores to pick up our products via social media and have it actually really, really work?
Oh, that's a good one.
I would probably say Alani Nu.
I was just about to say Alani. So specifically with their proteins.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And it was also a female buyer, which is a little bit different. Like it differentiates.
And they're very influencer driven. If there was any brand I would have said, that would be the one.
I was really disappointed. And when we saw the initial metrics, let me back up. The mod cycle, when you reset, the unfair part of having to go, prepare for the next year or the deletion is like, okay, I've set my mod, and then 10 to 12 weeks later, I'm making deletion decisions. So you have essentially 10 to 12 weeks, give or take, to make an impact, make a splash.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. From August to call it New Year, New You, New Year reset, whatever you want to do with all the New Year's resolutions, right? Sure. I'm going to work out. I'm going to do this. Alani's success story was different because when we launched them, they didn't do well.
Probably not right out the gate.
They didn't. And I think the difference was they partnered with us on a pallet train program. So we put stuff outside of the aisle, functional, and customers could walk by and see, oh, wow, Alani Nu's at Walmart. They got pre-workout, they got protein.
So is that a part of like the initial pitch where they're like, hey, I want to do this promotional thing with you. I want to do an end cap. I want to do a pallet. I want to add an additional marketing spin to this thing. Is that something that's attractive, or do you even give a shit at first?
And maybe for existing vendors, like if you don't have any innovation to pitch the next year, okay, this is what we can do. in experiential marketing, in some kind of activation like that. So for the new guys, maybe they don't think that, a Sidekick PDQs exist, or like a pallet drop is an option.
Explain PDQ. That's another one.
It's called Pretty Darn Quick.
Okay.
PDQ
They see it, they buy it pretty darn quick.
That's
It's
the
like
goal.
it's an end cap pop up, like those cardboard things that you see on the.
Okay.
Corrugate.
Yeah, it's a corrugate. That's vendor supplied. So the brand has to supply
Sure.
the corrugate.
So within
That's a
that,
cost,
That's
yeah.
it's an input cost. It's a lead time cost. It's
Yeah.
like you're using a consolidator. So now you're chipping away at the supplier's margin.
The inventory of the PDQ, is that as like a separate sort of order, because you have to fill so much in the PDQ, right?
It is.
So
It's a separate order.
that isn't like that's in addition to the shelf space.
Correct.
Is it sold by unit there, or is it sold? Is like the PDQ? Let's say if it has 36 units on that PDQ,
Yeah.
is it sold as a 36 unit set?
It is.
So like
It's one piece.
one piece
Yeah.
includes 36.
Yeah.
So you need to include that it's going to have 36 in that one.
Yeah.
But from Walmart's standpoint, they're buying one.
They're buying one. So you set it up that way, right? Like
Yeah.
this is one item, kind of like your pallet configurations. I've got a pallet, I've got cases, I've got inner packs, and I've got singles, right? That's kind of the hierarchy. And so your PDQ is treated like a master case. And within that, you've got singles. So you would
Yeah.
set up a separate item, and within their like feature planning tool, you would go put that in as one piece to sell, to send to 1,200 stores or whatever the count is.
Right. And that includes the corrugate.
Yeah,
Okay. Now, obviously, this takes up more real estate,
of course.
and
But they're allocated real estate.
okay. But it's also like it's on its own certain time cycle, right?
And you're bidding with other people too.
You bid for it.
Yeah. So ooh.
So not only like you're bidding for this, and then there's also like the upfront cost of the corrugate or whatever kind of display you're going to do.
So bidding, let me back up, is not necessarily from a monetary standpoint. Merchants are evaluating, are you going to sell through? Are you going to give me incremental lift? Can you get me better margin? So the ask, I mean, it's all a money play.
Yeah.
Right. So you're already building all this cost into your corrugate. You have to ship it from a consolidator. You have to ship extra. Now you want more margin on top of it? I guess I better play ball.
Yeah, but from like a new brand standpoint, that's a way to get at the end of the shelf, like Alani,
Yeah.
to get new exposure.
Yeah. So offering that up, I wouldn't say initially, like in your first meeting, but maybe a couple months into the mod, if you've gained traction or like, hey, this is what we can do. We're not really seeing the lift that we want to see on shelf. Can we get out of the aisle and do it this way?
I see. Because you're going to reserve that for somebody who's already moving.
Yeah. And you've got out, what was different about our stuff is
How long do those kind of promos usually last? Where someone's like getting out of the shelf in a
month.
With just 1 month?
they're
30
month
days.
cycles, 30 days. And what you do is you bid them out, 6 months from the feature date is what you would call it, the feature, and then plug it all in quarters. So I would plan, February, March, April at one time with different locations within the store.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So even though the category is of this shelf here, you do have access to other locations that are going to kind of be.
Relative.
Yeah, but are you going to buy Hydroxycut while you're getting a fucking CD player?
Well, sometimes you do see stuff like at another place of a store.
Yeah.
So I've always wondered, is that a
over by the sporting goods?
and there is category
Yeah.
crossover sometimes where you got two different buyers of two different categories buying the same item.
That'll be
And that's a totally different discussion.
Yeah.
Like that's more of your cross function. Like I remember one of the first feature topics we did was a Gatorade. It was like Gatorade water bottles on a half of an end cap, which an end cap is the end of the aisle.
yes.
And the other half was Gatorade powder. Right. And we put it in sporting goods because we thought, oh, you're creating a story. That's what we want to put on there.
Did it do well? Did it perform?
And it never executed.
Oh, that's a bummer.
But this like energy drinks is a really good example of this because sometimes they'll start
yeah.
in supplements, but you like from any energy drink brand, they want to be in the beverage area.
For sure.
They want
They
to be
want to
selling
be by the checkout.
They want to be selling. Yeah, checkout. Yeah, you're exactly right. That and like
I
cases.
don't want to have to walk all the way back to the trash bags to
Exactly.
get my energy drink.
So that's a good segue. I
We
mean,
had this experience earlier today.
We did.
Where I bought a Red Bull. I was like, fuck it. It's
It was
right
the-
here.
it was the closest
It's
thing.
at the checkout.
Yeah.
I would have much rather bought anything else. But I was like,
did you buy sugar? Was it sugar free or?
No, I got the full sugar.
Joey's not the health nut everyone.
There's 80 milligrams of caffeine.
Joey's like,
It's
I'm
fine.
going to abuse my body in every way except with supplementation, and I'm just gonna.
Well, I abuse it that way too.
Why not?